South Carolina ʻsaʊθ kærəʻlaɪnə is a state in the southeastern region of the United States. The state is bordered to the north by North Carolina, to the south and west by Georgia across the Savannah River, and to the east by the Atlantic Ocean. South Carolina was the first state to ratify the Articles of Confederation and the eighth state to ratify the U.S. Constitution on May 23, 1788. South Carolina became the first state to vote to secede from the Union on December 20, 1860. After the American Civil War, it was readmitted into the United States on June 25, 1868. South Carolina is the 40th most extensive and the 23rd most populous U.S. state. Its GDP as of 2013 was $183.6 billion, with an annual growth rate of 3.13%. South Carolina comprises 46 counties. The capital and largest city is Columbia, with a 2013 population of 133,358. The Greenville-Anderson-Malden metropolitan area had a 2013 population of 850,965. Etymology. The name Carolina dates back to October 30, 1629, when King Charles I granted a patent to Sir Robert Heath for the lands south of 36 degrees and north of 31 degrees, under the name, in honor of the King of Carolina. Carolus is Latin for Charles's. Geography. South Carolina is composed of 5 geographic areas, or physiographic provinces, whose boundaries roughly parallel the Atlantic coastline. South Carolina consists of the subtropical coniferous forest biome that is found through the entire state. The Atlantic coastal plain, which can be divided into the outer and inner coastal plains. From north to south, the coast is divided into 3 separate areas: the Grand Strand, the Savannah River Delta, and the Sea Islands. Further inland are the Sand Hills, ancient dunes from what used to be South Carolina's coast millions of years ago. The Fall Line, which marks the limit of navigable rivers, runs along the boundary of the Sand Hills and the Piedmont, which has rolling hills and clay soils. In the northwest corner of the state are the Blue Ridge Mountains, the smallest geographical region in the state. The state's coastline contains many salt marshes and estuaries, as well as natural ports such as Georgetown and Charleston. An unusual feature of the coastal plain is a large number of Carolina bays, the origins of which are uncertain. The bays tend to be oval, lining up in a northwest to southeast orientation. The terrain is flat and the soil is composed entirely of recent sediments such as sand, silt, and clay. Areas with better drainage make excellent farmland, though some land is swampy. The natural areas of the coastal plain are part of the Middle Atlantic coastal forests ecoregion. Just west of the coastal plain is the Sand Hills region. The Sand Hills are remnants of coastal dunes from a time when the land was sunken and the oceans were higher. The upstate region contains the roots of an ancient, eroded mountain chain. It is generally hilly, with thin, stony clay soils, and contains few areas suitable for farming. Much of the Piedmont was once farmed. Due to the changing economics of farming, much of the land is now reforested in loblolly pine for the lumber industry. These forests are part of the southeastern mixed forests ecoregion. At the southeastern edge of the Piedmont is the Fall Line, where rivers drop to the coastal plain. The Fall Line was an important early source of water power. Mills built to harness this resource encouraged the growth of several cities, including the capital, Columbia. The larger rivers are navigable up to the Fall Line, providing a trade route for mill towns. The northwestern part of the Piedmont is also known as the foothills. The Cherokee Parkway is a scenic driving route through this area. This is where Table Rock State Park is located. Highest in elevation is the Blue Ridge region, containing an escarpment of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which continue into North Carolina and Georgia, as part of the Southern Appalachian Mountains. Sassafras Mountain, South Carolina's highest point at 3,560 feet, is located in this area. Also located in this area is Caesars Head State Park. The environment here is that of the Appalachian Blue Ridge Forests ecoregion. The Chattooga River, located on the border between South Carolina and Georgia, is a favorite whitewater rafting destination. Lakes. South Carolina has several major lakes covering over 683 square miles. The following are the lakes listed by size. Lake Marion 110,000 acres. Lake Strom-Thurmond 71,100 acres. Lake Moultrie 60,000 acres. Lake Hartwell 56,000 acres. Lake Murray 50,000 acres. Russell Lake 26,650 acres. Lake Kiowa 18,372 acres. Lake Wylie 13,400 acres. Lake Wateree 13,250 acres. Lake Greenwood 11,400 acres. Lake Jocassee 7,500 acres. Lake Bowen. Earthquakes do occur in South Carolina. The greatest frequency is along the central coastline of the state, in the Charleston area. South Carolina averages 10 to 15 earthquakes a year below magnitude 3. The Charleston earthquake of 1886 was the largest quake ever to hit the southeastern United States. This 7.2 magnitude earthquake killed 60 people and destroyed much of the city. Faults in this region are difficult to study at the surface due to thick sedimentation on top of them. Many of the ancient faults are within plates rather than along plate boundaries. Climate. South Carolina has a humid subtropical climate. Although high elevation areas in the upstate area have fewer subtropical characteristics than areas on the Atlantic coastline. In the summer, South Carolina is hot and humid, with daytime temperatures averaging between 86 to 93 degrees Fahrenheit in most of the state and overnight lows averaging 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit on the coast and from 66 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit inland. Winter temperatures are much less uniform in South Carolina. Coastal areas of the state have very mild winters, with high temperatures approaching an average of 60 degrees Fahrenheit and overnight lows in the 40s degree F. Inland, the average January overnight low is around 32 degrees Fahrenheit in Columbia and temperatures well below freezing in the upstate. While precipitation is abundant the entire year in almost the entire state, the coast tends to have a slightly wetter summer, while inland, March tends to be the wettest month and winter the driest season, with November being the driest month. The highest recorded temperature is 113 degrees Fahrenheit in Johnston and Columbia on June 29, 2012, and the lowest recorded temperature is -19 degrees Fahrenheit at Caesars Head on January 21, 1985. Snowfall in South Carolina is somewhat uncommon in most of the state, while coastal areas receive less than an inch annually on average. It is not uncommon for areas along the coast to receive no recordable snowfall in a given year. The interior receives a little more snow, although nowhere in the state averages more than 12 inches of snow annually. The mountains of extreme northwestern South Carolina tend to have the most substantial snow accumulation. Freezing rain and ice tend to be more common than snow in many areas of the state. Road bridges in South Carolina are commonly marked bridge ices before road South Carolina is also prone to tropical cyclones and tornadoes. Two of the strongest hurricanes to strike South Carolina in recent history were Hurricane Hazel and Hurricane Hugo. Hurricanes and tropical cyclones. The state is occasionally affected by tropical cyclones. This is an annual concern during hurricane season, which lasts from June 1 to November 30. The peak time of vulnerability for the southeast Atlantic coast is from early August to early October. During the Cape Verde hurricane season, memorable hurricanes to hit South Carolina include Hazel and Hugo, both Category 4 hurricanes. South Carolina averages around 50 days of thunderstorm activity a year. This is less than some of the states further south, and it is slightly less vulnerable to tornadoes than the states which border on the Gulf of Mexico. Some notable tornadoes have struck South Carolina, and the state averages around 14 tornadoes annually. Hail is common with many of the thunderstorms in the state, as there is often a marked contrast in temperature of warmer ground conditions compared to the cold air aloft.